Should we get some ice cream today? Vanilla with all the sprinkles. That's your favourite, isn't it?
No, that's not my favourite, don't you remember?
Yeah, of course. It's chocolate with all the sprinkles and the flake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll just get that then.
You promise?
I promise.
Little moments and things that are unsaid but speak volumes. And we see the journey of this girl with the men in her life, starting with her father and then ending with her partner at the time. And they're not very, very dissimilar from each other. It's the kind of lack of regard, lack of respect, always feeling left behind, in second place, never a priority. And I think that the name of this film really reflects that. And it's these cycles that continue, this generational trauma that happens where we perpetuate these cycles because it's what we know, it's what's familiar, it's what's comfortable, but ultimately doesn't serve us and doesn't make us happy. And there was like a moment where she was like, I wish that I could be with this type of guy and I could be this type of, partner for him. And the guy was like, that's not who you are. Like, you're never going to be with that kind of guy because like, you know who you like, with the type of person that you like to be with. And him kind of like affirming that and being like, no, that's never going to be you. You're not going to break these cycles. This is who you are. And it's not. She deserves better. She knows that she deserves better and she wants it. But the men in her life are affirming, like, you might want it, but that's not what you deserve and that's not what you're going to get. So there's like a lot said in this short film that the audience can glean from. And I think it was a really well done job. And I think it rings true for so many people, young women especially.
She realizes that she ended up with a man just like her father. And all these childhood feelings come back in this car scene because it feels so familiar. She's back to not being put first in regards to the men in her lives, ambitions being the priority. And, their line of work alludes to something unsavory, something criminal, not completely on the up and up. And it also alludes to something unsavory happened or occurring with the father. You get the sense that something bad has happened to him, just through the things that are unsaid. And I feel like it's a realization of a cycle. And realizing that she's put herself in these predicaments on her own, even when he makes the notation of, you would never end up with that type of guy because I know the type of girl you are, and you don't go for that type of guy. The type of guy that she can cook dinner for and does a regular 9-to-5 job and comes home and has a career that's on the up and up. That's not the type of guy she's ever gone for. And if you go back to the beginning, when her father, also wasn't that type of guy. So it became this learned sense of comfort. And it makes you wonder, is she dating men that are so similar to her father because her father's not in her life anymore? Is this a cycle that she's going to break? Is this a cycle she's accepted that she's in? There's so many things that it kind of leaves you with not sure about, which is cool. It gives you something to ponder on.
I think you do a great job establishing this father-daughter relationship and exploring it throughout this piece in a way that's really like fun and lighthearted. And there's a clear, plot-wise, there's a clear give and take of what's going on and how they relate to each other. I think it's really fun. I think these two actors work great together, and that adds to that chemistry on screen. I think tonally, this entire piece fit very well together. There were some fun shots in there. It's a fun storyline. It's a fun one to see for a father-daughter, uh, just kind of lighthearted, even though you know some things aren't going to happen. It's not as intense.
Great cinematography. I love what they did with the interior of the car shots. I thought that those camera angles were great. The acting was amazing. That little girl, I mean, both of them were incredibly believable. I believed the relationship. They definitely had a rapport together. So I really felt like I was a fly on the wall watching a family have this kind of dispute where the dad is promising something to the daughter that he's not going to keep his promise. I love how they set up kind of the mystery of the story. They gave us this mystery to unfold.
The representation of daddy issues and seeing how the relationship with her father has now developed into her relationships, and how this translates, how we tend to date people who remind us of our family figures. She's met with disappointment and broken promises, and her partner continues to argue with her over it. And she sort of takes this moment to speak her truth out loud, that her true desire is to be met with someone nice, and he utters that's not what she truly wants. You can carry a sense of emotion being built under pressure in these cars. Think about what it's like to be stuck in a car, the surroundings of it all, and the seeking desire to get out of the car and to just go be at home. And the people who unintentionally, so to speak, to some extent they are aware of what they're doing, but they're kind of being aggressive when they're being challenged on the matter, and kind of getting in the way of what this character truly wants.
I really like the way the short is split in two separate parts, basically, with two separate storylines. In the end, these two stories managed to connect somehow between them. I really love the performances. We see these struggles between these two families. I mean, father and daughter, and then later a couple. I think it was very well done and very well shot, and mostly because of the location. I mean, the full film is basically set inside a car. I mean, two separate cars, but still the story managed to stay engaging from start to finish with deep and interesting dialogue that really show us the struggles of the characters. And thanks to the direction, cinematography, and performances, the short becomes a really pleasant watch.
I thought it was a really creative approach to have the same setting and the same amount of characters and almost the same dialogue as well, and use that to show the impact on the characters' lives in terms of their setting and choices and what they were living through. I think it made for a really impactful story, and using very limited things in terms of new dialogue and new setting and new characters. So I think that's really creative and definitely very emotional in terms of how it hits.